Ionescu off to Laney. She gives up the three opportunity. Barges into the paint and finishes. In game 2 of this best-of-3 series, Jonquel Jones insisting her way, lost it, got it back, laid it in. Deladon up the floor. For the first time since 2015, the New York Liberty are headed to the WNBA Semifinal.
This is Rafi Guzon, and you are tuned in to Nothing But That Sports Talk. Welcome back to another episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. I'm Rafi Guzon alongside Bailey Jackson from FanDuel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on as well. And obviously earlier this week, the first round of the WNBA Playoffs are wrapped up with the New York Liberty moving on to the next round, going up against the Connecticut Sun. Let's start off with that matchup. I mean, like when you're looking at that matchup, what is your overall impressions?
Yeah, it's a battle of a team that we saw last year in the playoffs or in the finals, and a team that I feel like we'll see in the finals this year. The Sun are very strong. They've been strong all season, but I just think the Liberty have a little bit of an edge. They have that three-headed monster over there with Stewie, Sabrina, and Jonquel Jones, and I think it's going to be a good matchup. But I really believe that the Liberty are going to take the W and move on to the finals ultimately, which I'm not mad at whatsoever. I'd love to see them go up against the Aces. That matchup's been fun to watch all year long. We've seen them, go up against each other a few times now. So, and then also with two MVP contenders, that'd be amazing. So I'm all for the Liberty going to the finals, rooting for them to beat the Sun. But I think it's still gonna be tough. That's my take on it.
Exactly, and it all comes down to who's going to show up, whether it be Sabrina Ionescu or Benai Delaney or Breanna Stewart, as you just mentioned. Breanna Stewart could give you like 25 points per night, but when she's having an off night, the Sabrina Ionescu could carry the load. When she's having an off night, somebody else is going to have to carry the load. This is the whole concept of having super teams. One of these players are going to have to step up. One example is when Sabrina Ionescu missed both free throws, Jonquel Jones stepped up with the rebounding and physicality on the inside, being able to draw fouls and get to the line and make her 2 free throws. And then another example is when Sabrina Ionescu was having an off night, shooting about like 4 for 11 and having 11 points. Breanna Stewart went off. Benai Delaney was knocking down big shots in overtime. This is the type of super team mentality that the New York Liberty were looking for when this team came together in the offseason.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I think, the Liberty, their strength is, obviously they have, great talent across the board. And you have some players that can carry and then some that, step up in those big moments, right? When, one player may be out, or whether it's injury, whether, it's just an off night. And we've seen a lot of that this season, whether it's Sabrina putting up the threes or, Stewie dominating the paint, a combination of, both, that's what makes Liberty special. That's what's made them special this season. And I think that's what's ultimately going to lead them to the finals this year.
Another aspect to worry about too is the fact that Courtney Vandersloot and Stephanie Dolson have a chance to get back to the WNBA Finals together. Only this time with a New York Liberty uniform, because remember, they both won a championship together in Chicago 2 years ago. Let's keep that in mind. They've maintained that same chemistry from 2 years ago, and Courtney Vandersloot is very familiar with playing with those players. And but another thing that we can't leave out is Jonquel Jones going up against her former team that she carried to the finals 2 times in the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a matchup that I'm sure she's looking forward to. I'm sure the Sun are looking forward to. You have that competitive nature naturally, but having to face your former team, it must be taking it to a new level. So I'd love to see what that looks like for her mentally, but physically on the court. We'll see this upcoming week.
Yeah, it's going to help out a lot. And like, what are your predictions overall with this New York Liberty? I mean, you probably had the New York Liberty winning, but I'm going to say that it's going to be 4 games, only because I know for a fact that Connecticut Sun, with the quarter in a guaranteed game 3, they're going to be motivated no matter how the series go.
And I'm going to agree with you on that one. I would say there's also going to be 4 games, for this matchup. Both teams are tough. Both teams are dominant. I think it's going to go back and forth. So, I don't think it's going to be any type of sweep. We saw some sweeps early on in this first round. I just can't say the same for the Sun, Liberty matchup. It's going to be tough.
Exactly. If Alyssa Thomas doesn't have one of those triple doubles that she's had all year long, and DeWanna Bonner doesn't show you that age doesn't mean thing, and well, the role players and bench warmers doesn't step up the way they do, they're gonna have a tough time going up against this Liberty's offensive defense. I mean, we saw that a few weeks ago when Liberty held them to about like 59 points.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's like you said, it's going to be tough. It's going to be dependent on, what some players can perform. Like you said, DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, they're a great duo on and off of court. So, if they can come out and perform, it's going to be a nice little matchup. Regardless, I think it's going to be, they've got depth on their team as well. So yeah, I'm here for it. But like you said, like we've discussed, it's not going to be a clean sweep. This is going to be a back and forth process for both teams.
Yeah, it will be. Now, to the next semifinal matchup, you're going to have the Las Vegas Aces going up against the Dallas Wings. Now, to me, this matchup has potential to go further than 4 games, in my opinion. The Wings are the only team that managed to get a win against every team this season, and they even win a game against the Aces as well. And they showed you that you can't sleep on the Dallas Wings, especially when they're being carried by Rike Gumawawe, or Isatu Sabali, who's the most improved player of the year, by the way. What are your overall thoughts of this matchup?
Yeah, I think the Wings have been dominant this season. Personally, I think the Aces are going to take care of them early on, honestly. We're seeing same 3-headed monster, in Las Vegas. We got Asia Wilson, we've got Kelsey Plum, we've got Sydney Colson, and, in the case of regular season play, you typically have Candace Parker in the mix. Now, unfortunately, she's out, but, you still have, again, another team with depth, with a very strong roster that is going to perform consistently each time, they step out on the court. And I don't know off the bat what the matchups will look like with the Wings, in the regular season, but from what I remember, the Aces took care of them, and I think they're going to take care of them again with this matchup, for the playoffs.
Yeah, the Aces took care of the big time. I mean, they remembered the one loss they did have down in Texas. They redeemed themselves. They were up by as many as like 16-0 or something around those rounds, and they never looked back.
Right.
This is what super teams do, right? And then also, even when the one game that was evenly matched down in Vegas, the Aces found ways to pull away. Whether it's Chelsea Gray knocking down shots, Kelsey Plum knocking down shots, Asia Wilson having one of those inside-out offensive nights. Right? And not to mention the fact that Jackie Young, who's pretty much underrated at this point, she can knock down shots too. So yeah, the team chemistry that's literally built from the ground up, and Becky Hammond managed to carry the load from what Bill Lambier built back in 2021. You can't sleep on that. Right.
And you mentioned Jackie Young too, and I'm glad you brought her up. She, like you said, she's underrated. She's slept on, and she is extremely talented. And I'm going to support her day in and day out, especially considering she's a Notre Dame alum, Indiana, roots there as well. So gotta shout out Jackie. She's done amazing things for the Aces, and I think she'll continue to perform well, in the playoffs. And that's, like I said, another player that you got to look out for. You got to keep in mind, and I think the Wings need to be cautious of her, going into this matchup, because she's a force to be reckoned with for sure.
Exactly. This Aces team is just way put together. Now, getting to the Dallas Wings matchup. I already talked about how good Rike Gumawawe and Santo Saba is going to be, but I never talk about Tiara McCowan. She managed to get about 16 rebounds in the win Atlanta Dream the other night. And if she, do you see her do something like this in this series?
Defensively, the Wings definitely have an edge, and I think that's what made them so dominant against the Dream, in this first round. Up against the Aces and the Aces offense, I think there's opportunity for her to perform the same, as she did in previous games. But putting up those numbers, I think maybe expect a fraction of that. I'm not gonna diminish her success too much, but like we'll say maybe around 50% of that, I think is a fair expectation for her defensively. But again, the Wings are known to be great on the back end of the court. I think we'll see a very similar performance from them against the Aces.
Yeah, we will. And speaking of that, how many games do you think the series is going to go? Because I might pick the Aces to win in 5, because I'm not sleeping on the type of team that Dallas wins could be. What do you? But I'm going to stick with that. What is your prediction?
Gosh, I'm gonna say honestly very similar to what we talked about with Liberty and Sun. I'm gonna say in 4. I think I think it's doable. I think it's doable. It's going to be, again, another, back and forth. I don't think it's going to be a clean sweep, but I think the Aces can get it done. I think they can get it done, fairly soon.
Yep, we'll get that elusive Aces versus Liberty WNBA Finals matchup that's been built up from way back in the offseason or before the season even began. This is what we hope for. This will bring ratings for the WNBA broadcast teams. So,
yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good for the league, just solid competition. I'm looking forward to it. I know as long as everything goes well, of course, we're still, a few weeks away from, talking about, or at least, seeing these final matchups. But I'm looking forward to, hoping, fingers crossed, we've got Aces Liberty that we'll be watching here soon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, on to the very next topic, when we talk a little bit about like how you got started in your journalism career.
Yeah. So I am still very new to the, I guess, professional sports reporting world, if you want to call it. I went to Indiana University. I majored in marketing, and I knew that let me backtrack a bit before we get into that. Majored in marketing and had an interest in sports, grew up playing sports, and ultimately stopped once I got to college. I had a friend who was doing some sports reporting. She is now a news anchor out in Arizona. So I credit a lot of how I got into the industry because of her, because she inspired me in ways she doesn't even know. And ultimately, saw what she was doing, and it's like, I want to do that too, right? So got involved in Indianapolis with a local showcase page called Prep Ball Stars, and then ultimately finished like a little internship stint with them, came back to IU for my sophomore year. And it's like, okay, well, how can I continue building on my skills and staying plugged into, the sports industry. Fortunately, being at a Big Ten school, Big Ten Network was, an opportunity, and they have this really cool segment called Big Ten Student U, where, basically students have the chance to, build on their sports reporting skills, whether it's color analyst, sideline reporter, whatever it may be. So, got my start there covering wrestling out of all sports. So that was where the journey started for me. That was about my sophomore year was 4 years ago. So I graduated last year. I haven't been out of school for very long. And when I graduated, like I said, graduated with a marketing degree, had a corporate marketing job lined up, but deep down inside, I was like, I still want to continue working in the sports industry some way, somehow. If it's not going to be my full-time job, like at least let it be a hobby or a part-time, situation. And I started my sports platform August 2022, so just over a year ago, and it's grown to where it is now, and now have opportunities to work with companies and brands like FanDuel, but like DAZN Sports, and it's blossomed into something that I never thought it would honestly turn into. So that's a kind of long story, long answer to your question, but yeah, that's the journey. So with some other, stories sprinkled in here and there, but point A to point B, that's how I got here.
Yeah, I mean, and look at it. You originally went to college, wanted to go for a career in marketing, and you had marketing lined up, but you decided to chase something that you thought you'd enjoy a bit more than what you probably would have gotten working in marketing. I mean, well, pretty much all I could ask is about, like, why don't you talk about the difficulty of landing a job in sports media, even with a marketing degree?
Yeah, the sports industry is extremely competitive. I think that is well known and well marketed too. Just about everyone I talked to when I was, interested in trying to make a full-time job out of the college experience that I had, they're like, you need a deep resume, you need, B-roll, you need film of yourself, on the sideline. And even then, you still had hundreds and thousands of other people out there that are trying to do the same thing. And I'm not going to say that having a marketing degree was a disadvantage, because I think it's benefited me in so many different ways. But there are also a lot of positions that look for your traditional journalist background. You graduate with a journalism degree, you graduate from the media school, and I graduated from the business school with a marketing degree and no real classroom experience that traditionally preps you to be on camera, doing your standard sports reporting. But that's where I believe the marketing degree came into play and benefited me in ways that others may not reap the benefits from, because I had this marketing background and specifically social media interest that allowed me to position myself in the sports industry in a way that is now evolving, and I think is also the future of sports reporting. Is now we're seeing kind of things shift to a digital landscape. So in terms of breaking into the industry and kind of beating that competitive stereotype that the sports industry has, that was a way that I was able to kind of pivot and honestly build my own table. You hear people say like, wait for your seat at the table. It's like, no, I'm going to build my own table. I'm going to pull up my own chair, and like, this is how I'm going to do it. So that's kind of the background behind my marketing experience, and I guess just like the competitive nature of the industry, and how I was able to combat that. I think it's doable for a lot of people now as well, because it's a very individual, or you don't need people to really get you into that position. This is something that you can start on your own, that anybody can start on their own. So I think that's also the really cool thing about it as well.
Exactly. And a few things that marketing and journalism have in common: these type of careers, you have to learn how to write, you have to learn how to speak, you have to learn how to give analytics towards different topics in the sports industry.
Right. And that's something that I, again, didn't really feel like I had the necessary training on to enter into your traditional sports reporter role. And that's something that I've been working on over the past year, is learning how to write, learning how to speak. When I started my videos, I sounded horrible. Like, looking back on some of the first pieces of content I put out, it's like my pitch wasn't great, like the inflection of tone wasn't great. I was talking really fast. So it's like, tweaking that over time, takes time. You have to stay patient, and you learn what works, what doesn't, what sounds good, what doesn't. And then writing, that was something that I personally didn't think I, excelled in. I was a decent writer, but building on the technical writing skills was important for me. And I don't think early on in my journey, I realized how much writing played a role into, your on-camera presence, or even voiceovers for a video. But the more I built on my technical writing skills, the better my content became. And I'm credit a lot of that to working with the Indianapolis Recorder as a freelance writer. And that's honestly how I got really tapped into the WNBA, because I was working to cover a lot of the Indiana Fever games this season. So that's my best piece of advice to people who are looking to develop their skills, is really hone in on your writing abilities, hone in on technical writing, and building on those skills, because they're invaluable at the end of the day.
Exactly. And even though you had to learn all that by covering a team that wasn't really that let's be honest, this year wasn't really too great. But the fact that but sometimes you have to learn how to cover the not so great teams before you get to cover the bigger teams that we're doing right now. I spent years covering it. I started covering New York Liberty back in 2020 when they only won two. We were like 2-18, something like that. The WNBA wobble. But I'm getting the conversations with these players. The conversations to get for the content that you're creating is part of the journey. You got to. I've seen some of your videos. You guys get a lot of viewership, a lot more than you could even imagine. And when you're looking at those viewerships that you got for your videos, how proud of your own success in building the engagement towards your platform, Bailey Jackson Sports?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I had this conversation with one of my close friends not too long ago. I'm not one of those people that like looks too deep into kind of benchmarks or goals. Of course I set them for myself, and I have aspirations for where I want to go, and milestones I want to hit. But when that happens, I don't take time to acknowledge it and give myself my flowers. At the end of the day, I do recognize, like, I've come a long way in a year. I've amassed views that I never thought I would reach, and I have a following that I never thought I would have. And I don't think it's hit me yet, like when those milestones happen. And when I hit 1 million viewers on a video, or reach 10K on Instagram, or 30K on TikTok, like, it's cool, and I'm happy. It's just like processing it is just something that I've yet to do. And I think I'm so focused on what's next that I don't honestly take time to really focus on the present as much. I'm such a futuristic forward thinker. But deep down inside, I'm very happy. I'm very blessed. And I thank God every day that, I'm in the position that I am, and that people actually care about, what I say and my opinions and my content. So, that's kind of my take on my success, with my sports page.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, you sound like you're ready to work for ESPN tomorrow.
Hey, if they knocked on my door today, I would say yes.
But don't worry, at the very least, you got FanDuel, who has strong partnerships with many different sports media outlets. While we're on the subject about that, why don't you talk about your overall experience of being able to work at FanDuel, well, contribution to your voice to a brand that focuses on sports betting?
Yeah, so FanDuel, I haven't worked with FanDuel for too long, honestly. This is my first month collaborating with them. I was very, very happy when they reached out to me. FanDuel was on the list of brands that I wanted to work with, whether it was like a one-time collaboration or, a full year contract. I didn't know what was going to come of it. But yeah, it's been great so far. A lot of the content I'm focusing on is WNBA related, because we're in, the middle of playoffs. And also because a lot of my WNBA content on my own platform's done really well. So I'm glad that I'm able to transfer that over to FanDuel's platform. And then going forward, we'll start to do it, a little bit more with other sports. But on the sports betting side, that's something that I haven't personally focused on as much. So that's cool that I'm also getting into a new space, and they're teaching me about betting and about odds, and what everything means, and what a money line is versus a spread. And it's been a journey so far. And like I said, this is only month one. And we've got a lot more to go. So yeah, it's been a great partnership. I've enjoyed every second working with them. The team's great. The other creators with FanDuel are amazing. They make great content. So I'm very glad to be a part of the FanDuel family.
And that's what it's all about. FanDuel really knows how to reach out to some of the best in sports media.
Yeah, there's so many great creators. Kent Sports, he's on TikTok and Instagram. Gab Goody, Live Moods, like they're all great. I highly recommend checking out their content, because they are doing an amazing job on their own platforms and on the FanDuel platform as well.
Exactly. Now, why don't you ranch a scenario where people that watch your content, they tell you that they tell you that you need to work. You mentioned earlier in the show that you had shows where you were talking too fast, or you were too hesitant. Your writing skills was great, and then the fans actually commented and give a little bit of a slander. Like, how would you able to handle all that going forward?
Yeah. So, internet hate is real, and people are mean sometimes. It's just, the nature of social media. There have been multiple videos that I've had hundreds of, negative, hateful comments on them. People telling me that I don't know, what I'm talking about, that I should stay in the kitchen. you know, what, especially with WNBA content, you know, it's hard at times because people don't respect and value it as much as I feel like they should. So then I get passionate when people, you know, start to comment negative things, and it's sometimes hard for myself to just sit back and not say anything as much as I do want to say something. But you know, at the end of the day, I think what you know, is what's in the back of my mind is, if these people are taking time out of their day to comment something negative about my content, about me, about my intelligence, about my knowledge, there's something wrong with them. You know what I mean? Like that's just, it's hateful at the end of the day. It's a hateful spirit. It's a hateful mentality. And I just, you know, like, I honestly just brush it off. I hope that they find peace in themselves to be nicer and be better to people on, you know, social media. Because at the end of the day, they're hiding behind a screen and, you know, just being nasty. And like, that's just unfortunate for them. So that's how I look at it.
Exactly. People don't know how hard we have to work just to get this content that we create, to create the content we create and put it together. I just had moments where I had that, and everybody keep telling me, just brush it off. Hate's good. That means it's going to help you be better. And then I even told a friend earlier this week who actually contributed to the show a couple of times. Shout out to Short and Sweet Entertainment, and shout out to Shantae. But yeah, she even said, okay, that's great. I mean, you don't like it. I think you don't like it. You don't like it. All I can do is just be better. Sometimes you need people to hate you because it helps you become a better sports media professional like yourself. It helps you become a better human being, and more importantly, it helps you become a better woman.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely constructive criticism in the comments too, and you know, there's some things that I do look at and I'm like, okay, you know, you have a point. But you know, yeah, there comes a point too where it's like you're gonna hear it all, and it's like it's just gonna be noise at the end of the day. And there's nothing that anybody can say that's like nothing, you know, no different from what you've already heard before. So you're right, where it's like it kind of allows you to build this thick layer of skin where it's like nothing's, you know, nothing can really break me after a while. It just, you know, it sucks at times, and you know, it's hard to put up a front that it's like, oh, like these comments don't affect me, everything's okay. Because like I do read stuff, you know, from time to time. I do check my DMs from time to time, you know, to see like what people are saying. But you know, at the end of the day, like you said, it makes me better, makes me stronger, and you know, and I can adapt and evolve from it, you know, as well. So it's, you know, it's a growth moment too.
Yeah, it's a growth moment indeed. It's also a growth moment as we transition into college football for the Colorado Buffaloes. Because, you know, last year, Colorado, they only won 2 games. But Deion Sanders' coaching style changed all of that. They've already won the first 3 games of the season. They're about to play Oregon right now. You want to hear my thought? If you want my thoughts on their game against Oregon, you're gonna have to wait till next episode because yeah, they're be playing while the show's actually being recorded. But what are your overall thoughts on the resurgence of the Colorado Buffaloes with Deion Sanders coaching his players?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. The Prime Effect has been so interesting to watch from a sports fan perspective, but also from a journalist perspective, and from a social media perspective too. And it's timely that we're talking about this, one, because, you know, like you said, the game's about to come on. But two, I did a story about this yesterday, and how you have this like internet stan culture, right? That just, you know, America loves winning. People love to see teams win. And I think another huge factor is, you know, Colorado's being labeled as like Black America's team, right? We, you know, we love to see, you know, Black men win, and Black men in, you know, positions of power like Deion Sanders, and that have, you know, historically been very, you know, have been dominated by white coaches, right? You know, so to see him come in, perform well, you know, have his team perform well, he, you know, he's changing the name, the game, like it's been great. And to see all these people, you know, hop on the wave too has been awesome. It'll be interesting to see how that, you know, continues as the season goes on. Of course, we, you know, we have a huge matchup today, that we'll all be witnessing. Oregon, you know, Colorado, it's going to be tough for them. And next week as well. USC Colorado is going to be tough. So, seeing how the narrative and the storyline continues going forward, and if, people are going to be as supportive if a loss or two, does come down the line. But, we'll wait to see if that happens or not. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed watching them. I've had them on every single weekend. Stayed up till 2 a.m. last week and watching them in that double overtime.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was insane. So, especially after the whole, back and forth between Jay Norvell and, CSU player and all of that. So, but yeah, long story short, love Colorado, love Deion Sanders, love what they're doing. And I'm hoping that the narrative continues to stay just as strong as it's been up to this point.
Yeah, and for those of you that are just starting to watch nothing but the sports talk, well, including you now, I mean, you rarely hear me talk about college football enough, unless it's like a most outstanding storyline on taking place.
Mm-hmm.
And Deion Sanders' coaching style in the Colorado Buffaloes is one that stood out to me this season. Let's not forget a year ago, he was coach at Jackson State. It's alma mater. And the fact that he went from coaching a college football team that doesn't get many televised appearances to coach a team that gets televised a lot in the Pac-12, and of course the Pac-12 is about to break up like crazy in the next few seasons because all the teams are moved to different conferences. So the fact that he's taking advantage of building Colorado, making Pac-12 irrelevant in his last years, this is something that you need to pay attention to because Colorado Buffalo, they're going to be on their way towards the BCS title game, or in this case, the college football championship game.
Yeah, very, very true.
Yeah. Which leads to this one question. Do you see Colorado Buffaloes making it all the way to the championship game, or at least the Final Four of the college football playoffs?
Realistically speaking, they're a good team. They have the talent. They obviously have, the coaching staff to back up, the talent. Turning a team around from a 2-game winning team to a national championship contender, I don't see it realistically happening. Will they go to a bowl game? I'm pretty sure of that. I'm pretty confident that will happen. But seeing them, on the big stage at the end of the year, or at the end of the season, that's a lofty goal. That's a lofty goal considering where they were at last year, right? I think we have to keep that into perspective. But in a few years, I think that is definitely a conversation that we will be having. This year, I can't say so.
Yeah, but there have been a lot of teams that no way expected to enter recent national title game, but they end up winning it all anyway. I mean, look at LSU in 2019. Don't think that can happen with Colorado. Don't think that. Yeah,
I mean, you're right. Anything can happen. And I'm not gonna sit here and say, you be like the never say never person, but I think it's just a little unrealistic for this year specifically. But I wouldn't be mad if we saw them in the finals, or if we saw them in the final game, the national championship. So I guess it's just a matter of time. We'll see.
Yeah. Now let's just get back to like getting to know your college, getting to know your journalism background. Like you mentioned behind closed doors that you're currently based in Chicago. I mean, like, why don't you tell me what it's like being a young up and coming journalist with a marketing degree growing up in Chicago, like the whole lifestyle altogether?
Yeah, so I'm actually from Indianapolis. I moved to Chicago like 3 weeks ago, so I'm very new to the city, but spent a lot of time up here because my mom's side of the family lives in the area. But yeah, so I mean, Chicago's been great to me so far. I love the city. I love having a bigger sports market coming from Indianapolis. We have the Pacers, we have the Colts, but outside of that, it's kind of minor league teams. We have a minor league baseball team. We just got a soccer team within like the last 5 years. That's like not even in the MLS circuit. So, and then the hockey team, I don't even know what level they're on, but it's not an NHL. So, coming to Chicago, having 2 MLB teams, having the Bulls franchise, which is, obviously has, a name and a history behind it, having the Bears, having the Blackhawks, and also having an MLS, soccer team here, it's been a nice change of pace so far. So I'm glad that I'm here. Don't get me wrong, loved Indianapolis and loved covering the sports teams there. Also, I can't forget to mention this WNBA team. We have Chicago Sky here as well, and the Indiana Fever, obviously in Indianapolis. But yeah, like I said, Indianapolis did wonders for me. The connections there allowed me to pivot here with ease. Knowing how to get myself into spaces and events, and working my way through the Indianapolis market was a great test for me when I, ultimately transitioned here and be able to do the same thing in Chicago. But yeah, that's it so far. It's like I said, still very new, only 3 weeks in. So, time will tell, what the possibilities look like out here in the Windy City. So.
Yep, the possibilities are endless down the Windy City. Of course, another you mentioned the Chicago Sky, and now we transitioned into recapping the first round of WNBA playoffs. We already talked about the semifinals, but what you thought was the most impressive first round matchup so far from what you've seen?
Yeah, I would say the Wings and Dream, honestly. Obviously a 4-5 seed, like those matchups are always interesting to watch. And I think the Dream definitely had the opportunity to make history this year. And I think that they put up a good fight against the Wings. The other matchups, the other matchups just weren't as exciting as the Wings and Dreams were, but yeah, I would have loved to see this guy, do well, coming from the Fever and, now rooting for a new team. Not that I don't root for the Fever. I still love the Fever, but rooting for a team, in my city, would have loved to see them, play dominant, basketball against the Aces. But, that 1-8 seed matchup is tough and the Aces are tough. So, I wasn't expecting too much to say, but going back to my original statement, Wings Dream was definitely the matchup that I was looking at the most when it came to that first round of playoffs.
I will say this: I love the Wings coming from my win against the Atlanta Dream in Game 1 of the playoffs, and I loved that in Game 2 the defense shut down the Atlanta Dream from start to finish. Tierra McCown, as I mentioned, had about 16 boards. Rika Guwale doing the Rika Guwale things. I love that matchup. But the one that stood out to me was my New York Liberty defeating the Washington Mystics 2-0. And let me just say this: the Liberty got me scared in regular early portion of overtime before they finally started to pull away, and then they played some defense on Brittany Sykes in the fast break transition. So yeah, Liberty and Mystics are my favorite first round matchup, and of course, I can't rule out the Connecticut Sun and the Minnesota Lynx because that's the one that's the only series that went into a Game 3. I mean, of course, Connecticut pulled away in Game 3, but that one series that went 3 games, you can't sleep on that. You really can't.
No, that's true. That's true. And that Mystics game, I watched the last game, and I know a lot of people were rooting for Mystics to kind of give New York a little run for their money, but. Yeah, I mean that was definitely a good one. I would say it's second on my list, so runner up to that Dream, Wings matchup. But that was a good one to watch for sure. No doubt about that.
Yeah, exactly. And to get to your point, I mean, do you see yourself covering Chicago Sky basketball next year as much as your media brand and your time with FanDuel grows?
Yeah. I think time will tell. I would love to do the same thing that I was doing in Indianapolis, covering the Fever games. I was pretty much at every home game. So, it was a great opportunity for me to really tap into the WNBA, in person and, be live, be there, courtside at the games. So I'd love to do that here in Chicago. If the opportunity allows me to, I'm going to say yes. And, the good thing about working with FanDuel is they have partnerships with the WNBA. They have partnerships with, various teams across the NBA and the NFL. So, I think as that relationship continues to grow with FanDuel, getting into Sky games, getting into various WNBA games, across the season will be definitely a priority for myself.
Exactly. And when you were covering the WNBA, like, why don't you tell me about what angles do you focus on when you cover it? Were you like a writer, video for doing video stand-ups? And then like what different angles do you approach it when you're covering it?
Yeah, so I was strictly a writer. I worked very closely with a photographer at the Indianapolis Recorder. His name is David Dixon, and I credit him for getting me tapped into the Indianapolis Recorder. But we would work very closely to kind of determine the storyline that we wanted to focus on for the article. So he would get the pictures that would, correspond with whatever I wrote. And it really depended on the day, honestly. Sometimes I would focus on the opposing team just because, the storyline may be a little bit more interesting, a little bit more upbeat, lively, active, as opposed to, covering the Fever and the struggles that they had, this past season. That was one of the challenges I ran into, is it kind of felt like I was writing the same pieces over and over again, just with the, the nature of how the season turned out for the Fever. But yeah, sometimes I had a vision of, what I was going to write at the end of the day. Sometimes it was really just like, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to watch, I'm going to see what happens, take note. And then I may need to go home and sit on it for, the night and then come up with the story the next day. My writing process varies, every single time. And so it just kind of depends on, either if I, had a goal in mind with my photographer, or if, I just needed to think on it some more. So yeah, it's unique process for myself. And I know a lot of writers go about it a different way, but that was the way that worked best for me. So.
Exactly. And the whole time you were covering the Indiana Fever, you finally got to look at Aliyah Boston during the rookie year. I mean, when you saw Aliyah Boston play in her first WNBA season compared to the dominant years she had with the South Carolina Gamecocks up until, of course, the losses in the Final Four at Stanford in 2021 to win it all in 2022. And then this year, you end up running into Caitlin Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes. You get drafted number one. I got a chance to speak with her a couple times like on the day of the draft in person, actually. And then during the All-Star break, she became a starter for the WNBA All-Star game. And she talked about how so surreal and unintentional was to actually work her way towards being a starter for the WNBA All-Star game. Now she put up Rookie of the Year numbers. I mean, what are your overall thoughts on the way that Aliyah Boston developed from her final season in college into playing her first season in WNBA?
Yeah. I mean, I want to start off by saying it was a treat to watch her. I mean, the past couple of years, the Fever have gotten the number one pick, or a high pick. So yeah, it was a treat to watch her. I'm glad that she ended up coming to the Fever. But yeah, seeing her game from college to now, I think the theme that I saw or witnessed, on my own, and then also heard from her teammates, is just the confidence, like, just being more confident on the court, and seeing where her game and her strengths fit in with the team, like understanding that more as, time went on, and just really capitalizing on the opportunities that she had, within the Fever roster, within the coaching schematics. So I would say those are the two things that I saw the most. Like I said, heard from her teammates as well, from areas that she's improved from, end of college, stepping foot on, the floor for the first time, to, now finishing her first rookie, or for her first year in, her rookie season. And I think, honestly, the sky's kind of the limit for her. She's a great player. She's made history this season. And I can't wait to see what's next for her. I think she's going to be just as good, if not better, next year. And yeah, her potential, it hasn't been fully tapped into yet.
Yeah, exactly. Aliyah Boston, she has a lot. I think she's a very phenomenal player in the low post. She just has to get adjusted to bring her low post scoring and defensive presence into the pro level, as opposed to with the college level, where she had little to no problem get adjusted to playing. It's just it's also a matter of the chemistry with the players around her. I mean, she had Erica Wheeler around her. Yeah, that's pretty much one. Just name a few of the pieces. She had Kelsey Mitchell to get the ball to the low post. Those are the type of things that Aliyah Boston needs to become a great player.
Yeah, I think Erica and Kelsey definitely were really good mentors for her this season. And I think they'll continue to, be good mentors for her. I think it also helped that you had other, Gamecock players, with her this season as well. It allowed her to get more comfortable quicker. One duo that I love seeing was Grace Berger and Aliyah, working together. I think that wasn't tapped into enough this season. I wish coach would have done more with the two of them, because the moments that you saw Grace and Aliyah working together were great. Like, I mean, and they perform well together every single time they were on the court together. So seeing that continue into next season will be, I think, pivotal, and just how coach uses the two of them in her scheme. But yeah, even Melissa Smith, even though she was out for a little bit, she was a crucial factor to getting the ball to Aliyah, just also being a good duo with Aliyah. So yeah, the team has a lot of good talent, chemistry's there. So we'll see next season. I think there's some areas of improvement for sure. I think yeah, it's just going to be a matter of seeing what happens this off season, and also with the WNBA draft, who they can get to maybe strengthen the team a little bit more. So
exactly. And speaking of WNBA draft, there are some big names that are expected to be on the market for the draft next season. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. Just name a few names. Paige Beckers. Like next year, they're projected to draft number one in the way too early WNBA mock draft. They're projected to draft Caitlin Clark at number one when they win the lottery. What will Caitlin Clark bring to an Indiana Fever team that's literally trying to get out the rebuilding bubble?
Yeah. I mean, Caitlin, she's a dog. Like she's a beast. And I would love it if she came to the Fever. She's really shifty, and I think that's something that the Fever lack a little bit. I think Grace has a very similar playing style to Caitlin, but Caitlin just does it slightly better. And I think we need like a real shifty player to kind of weave in and out of those tough spots to get down the court fast. I think her playing speed is just a little bit more advanced than what we've seen out of this Fever team thus far. So, those are just a few areas I think that she can, bring to the table that the Fever just, I wouldn't say they're lacking, but they could use some improvement on.
Yes, they really do need some improvement on. I mean, they really need to work on those type of aspects that you just mentioned in order for the Fever to actually get back to being the playoff juggernaut they were during the Tamika Catching days. But over time, I think it's gonna develop. I mean, well, that's pretty much all I can say about that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. We'll see what happens, but there's a promising future for the Fever, and like you said, it's rebuilding. And I think the issue too is we're dealing with a very young team with not a whole lot of veterans on the roster, and I think it always helps to have some seasoned leadership, and leadership that's seen success over the years. So maybe that's something to consider too, is Fever, they trade for a player that's spent some time in the league, that's seen a lot of success on the court. As much as I'd love Caitlin to come in and make a difference, I don't know if adding another young player to an already young team is going to do what they need to do. But rebuilding is a process, and sometimes process just has its ups and downs, and it's road bumps, and we just gotta figure it out. So
yep,
next year,
figure it out indeed. Now on to some NFL talk, as of course the New York Giants get smoked by the San Francisco 49ers about 30-12. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, the 49ers, this team is good this year. And the Giants, I mean, they're I have no words for the Giants, truthfully. I expected it. I mean, the 49ers are they're dominant. They're going to continue to be dominant this season. And I think every team that goes up against them is going to be challenged, whether it's the Giants, who may not have, the strongest team at the moment, or, we'll say the Eagles, for example, who are, great. And they were great last year. They're going to be great this year. It's going to be tough going up against the 49ers. So yeah, I'm not too surprised at all. But we'll see how they continue to do. And as for the Giants, I hope their season gets a little bit better for the sake of New York fans.
Yeah, I mean, they did had a come from behind win after being down by 20 points. It was against the Arizona Cardinals like 4 days prior, but you take 1-2 over 0-3 any day, considering the way they've been playing defensively. You give up a lot of points, whether it's in the rushing defense, giving up points. I mean, a few weeks ago, to start the season, they lost to the Dallas Cowboys, and half of the points were scored on special teams. Right now, it was just not enough defense to slow down Christian McCaffrey, and Brock Purdy was passing offense was ridiculous. I mean, seriously, he had about like 310 yards passing, while Christian McCaffrey had about 85 yards. And you can't forget about Deebo Samuel, who managed to get some crazy catches.
Yeah. I mean, the roster is insane for the 49ers. And like you said, you have Christian McCaffrey, you have Deebo Samuels. I mean, like, they have talent. George Kittle, like there's a lot of talent on that team. And I mean, truthfully, I've been surprised by Brock Purdy. I think we've all been a little bit surprised by Brock Purdy, but yeah, I mean, that team it's got some depth for sure. So I think we'll continue to see them perform really well, at a high level too. The matchup against the Giants, I think seeing scores like that, coming from the 49ers is something that we'll continue seeing going forward.
Yes, we will. Now let's get to your picks for week 3. All right. Well, first off, Tennessee Titans on the road against the Cleveland Browns week 3.
I'm gonna go Browns. Yeah, I'm gonna go Browns for that one. I think, especially considering they're on the road, it's gonna be a tough matchup for them. Tennessee hasn't performed as well as I wanted them to so far. And granted, it's week 3, but I think coming off of last year, I expected them to, enter the season a little stronger. And I think the Browns are a force to be reckoned with this year. So I'm going to go Browns.
Atlanta Falcons on the road against the Detroit Lions.
I'm going to go Lions. Yeah, I'm gonna go Lions. They surprised me off coming off of week 1. So yeah, I'm gonna go Lions. And I mean, the Falcons are decent, but I think the Lions may take the dub this week.
Yeah. New Orleans Saints on the road against Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field.
Packers for sure. Yeah, I'm not gonna say an easy win for the Packers, but I would be surprised if that was a loss for them.
Miami Dolphins at home against the Denver Broncos.
Dolphins for sure. That's an easy win. That's an easy win for them, especially at home.
Okay. Minnesota Vikings at home against the Los Angeles Chargers.
I'm gonna say Chargers for that game. Yeah, we'll go with Chargers. The Chargers on that one.
Okay. New York Jets and home against the New England Patriots.
Jets. Jets. Bill Belichick this year. The Patriots. I don't see much going well for them. Even though the Jets
did win against the New York Jets 14 times in a row, and
yeah,
injury. I mean, at least if Aaron Rodgers was playing, I would have probably picked the Jets too. But I'm gonna share a beat with you. I'll pick the Jets this time. They should have no problem winning this game, even though they did lose to the Patriots 14 times in a row.
Yeah, the record's not helping this pick, but I don't know. I just the Patriots this year, and Yeah, the Patriots this year, I mean, like I said, it's week 3. It's kind of hard to like really put into perspective what this team is going to look like, or what this team brings to the table, because this is literally the 3rd game. But I don't know. I'm just not seeing the same dominant Patriots team that we have seen 14 times before. And, a large part of that is because of Tom Brady. Obviously, he's retired. The Patriots saw a lot of success because he was there. The Jets obviously have lost Aaron Rodgers. It's going to make a huge difference. Zach Wilson, he did his part last week, and I think that is a testament to what this week will look like. With that being said, yeah, I'm sticking with the Jets. I think the Jets can do it.
All right.
Yeah.
Watch the Commanders at home against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, that's probably a loss for Washington. I'm going with the Bills on that one.
Okay, not bad. Houston Texans on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Jags will win. For sure. For sure. Love CJ Stroud, big Ohio State fan, but that team the team could use a little bit of work.
Yeah. Indianapolis Colts, your hometown city, by the way, you were originally born, on the road against the Baltimore Ravens. That's not even worth debating, but I'm gonna have you pick this one anyway.
I'm so sorry to the Colts, but the Ravens are gonna win that game, especially with Anthony Richardson out this week. Unfortunately, he sustained a concussion last game, and Gardner Minshew is starting. Yeah, unfortunately, I think the Colts are gonna lose this one.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, I'm wrong, but yeah, it's looking like a Ravens win for sure.
Okay, on the road, Carolina Panthers facing the Seattle Seahawks on the road.
I'm gonna go Seahawks. I would love to see the Panthers pull out a win, but I don't know if they're quite ready for what the Seahawks bring, what the Seahawks team is bringing this year. So yeah, I'm gonna say Seahawks on that one.
Okay. Now on to your current hometown, or where you reside right now, the Chicago Bears on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, some people say it's expected to be in the matchup to watch this week, but if you ask me, I think they put a little too much pressure on Justin Fields to try to pull off an upset win at Arrowhead. You know how tough it is to win on there? I mean, I know the Detroit Lions man should get a win down there, but Kansas City, they were without Travis Kelce that game. So I don't expect Kansas City to lose to Chicago. What do you think?
Yeah. That week 1 loss was a fluke for them. Like you said, Travis Kelce was out. One of their top defensive players was out. And the Bears are just not strong contenders against the Chiefs. And this week has not been a great week for them too. It's like, we saw the comments from Justin Fields. We saw their defensive coordinator, quit. There's been some situations going down on Soldier Field where equipment's been stolen and all this. It's like there's a lot that happened this week. It's just not going to look good for the Bears. That's definitely a Chiefs win.
Yeah. Dallas Cowboys against the Arizona Cardinals on the road.
Yeah, Cowboys. Arizona Cardinals, I don't expect much from them this season. And I think, personally, I'm not a huge Cowboys fan, but what I'm seeing out of Dak Prescott so far this year, I'm liking. And then, same with, Trayvon Diggs is out. I don't think that's going to make much of a difference. I think Cowboys are still going to win. Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers on the road against Las Vegas Raiders.
Raiders. Yeah. Yeah, Raiders should cover that one.
Okay, Raiders. Now we get to the Monday Night Football matchup. The Philadelphia Eagles on the road against the Tampa Bay Bucks.
I'm gonna say the Eagles. Yeah, I'm gonna say the Eagles.
Los Angeles Rams on the road against Cincinnati Bengals. Super Bowl rematch, by the way.
I'm gonna go Bengals. Ooh, but Joe Burrow's not healthy. Well, I guess that's really dependent on his status for that game. And I don't know if I've seen an update on if he's going to play or not. That's a huge factor. I think if he's healthy, which I don't think he's ready to play on Monday, realistically speaking, the Rams are probably going to win. But if we see a healthy Burrow, then they've got, and Nick Chubb's out too. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, Burrow. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Rams. I'm going to go with Rams on that one.
Yeah, kind of wishy-washy. Now, why don't you tell me a little bit about your favorite NFL team and why you pick them?
Favorite NFL team. I would say it's the Colts. And that's just because I grew up in Indianapolis. I have never really had it like a true affinity to any team outside of like college football. I'm a huge Ohio State fan. Like my dad, who grew up in Ohio, a lot of my family's still in Ohio, so I was just kind of raised to be an OSU fan. That's the only team that I really like die hard root for. But yeah, I would say like my loyalty goes to the Colts solely because I grew up there. Also, the Peyton Manning era of the Colts was fun to watch. I mean, I was still very young at that point, but still understood the magnitude of what that meant for the team and what that meant for the city. But yeah, Colts fan because of that.
Mm-hmm. Now, you just said that you had the Colts losing against the Baltimore Ravens, so we'll just cross it out as a loss.
Yeah, that's kind of the story of a Colts fan, honestly. It's painful to be a fan at times, but still love them.
Okay, week four, they're going up against the Los Angeles Rams at home. Do you see them winning or losing?
I'm supposed to be at that game, so I hope it's a W. But realistically speaking, it's probably not going to be great. I'm going to say it's an L.
Okay, now week five at home against the Tennessee Titans.
Against the Titans. Division matchup. I want to say that's a win. I'm going to say that's a win. It's going to be a tough one, though. But
Okay.
yeah,
On the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
that's probably a loss, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at home against the Cleveland Browns.
Loss as well. Like I said, Nick Chubb out. I don't know why I confused him with the Bengals for a second, but yeah, Nick Chubb out. I think that's going to be tough for them to. I think it's going to be tough for the Browns, but I don't know. I still think they can get it done. Yeah, that's probably going to be a loss for the Colts.
Okay. Week 9 on the road against the Carolina Panthers.
That should be a win. On the road, though, I think that'll be a win.
No. I'm lying. Yeah, you already said it's going to be a win. Actually, I'm lying. Week 8 at home against the New Orleans Saints.
That'll probably be a loss.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be tough for them.
Yeah. Now, week 10 at home against the New England Patriots. That game's going to be in London, by the way.
Ooh, yeah. Wait, they play. That's is that the Germany game?
Yeah,
Germany,
Germany,
okay.
somewhere around those realms. I mean, it's 9:30 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I don't know if they play in London this year, but yeah, the Germany game. Ooh, that'd be because in a neutral site, and they're playing who again?
The New England Patriots.
I want to say that's going to be a W. I hope it's a W because there's a really cool storyline attached to them being in Germany. So I think that would make it even sweeter if they did win. Yeah.
Week 11 bye week. Week 12 and home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Home advantage. I don't know. I think that may be a L, honestly.
Week 13 on the road against the Tennessee Titans.
Say a W.
Okay. Week 14 on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals.
L.
Week 15 at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Probably another L.
Week 16 on the road against the Atlanta Falcons.
Hopefully that'll be a W.
Okay. Week 17 at home against the Las Vegas Raiders.
L.
Week 18 at home against the Houston Texans.
W.
Okay. So that puts your win total at about after week 2, that puts your win total. So you're predicting the Colts to be 7-10. Not bad considering they were bad last year.
Yeah, I think they'll have a stronger season than last year. Will it be like a game-changing year for them? Absolutely not. But yeah, I think that's realistic. 7-10 is not. It's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah.
I feel bad that I've listed so many L's, but I guess just being realistic.
I mean, you're covering sports now. You gotta be realistic when it comes to the teams that you grew up or born and raised in.
Yeah. You got to be honest, and honestly, I don't think some of those matchups will be a win for the Colts. So,
yeah. And one last question before I let you go: are you confident that the Colts can be at least a couple wins better, if not more?
I think it depends if everyone stays healthy. That's a huge factor. I think next week is going to be a really interesting week for the Colts because that's when Jonathan Taylor comes off PUP. Now, will he stay with the Colts is still kind of up for debate. And if that answer is yes, then I think we can definitely see a few more wins from the Colts. I think if Michael Pittman stays healthy, I think if Josh Downs stay healthy, I think if Anthony Richardson stays healthy, we can expect more W's than L's from the team. But it's a team that's kind of historically been plagued with some injuries. Shaq Leonard's been out. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's been out. So yeah, as long as they stay healthy, I think we can see a little bit more than a 7-10 record. But time will tell. It's football, and we've seen a lot of early injuries so far this season, a lot of season-ending injuries, unfortunately. So, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that that they stay healthy as a team, and they can continue to win, more games. So.
Yeah, just have some faith in the team. I mean, I know you did. It's not your original favorite team, but since you're supporting them by default because you grew up in Indianapolis, just have some faith. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, love the Colts, love covering the Colts. No hate to them, and like I said, grew up watching them. Colts fan, born and raised in Indianapolis, Colts fan as a result. So the faith, it's hard to come by from time to time, but I will always love the Colts franchise. So rooting for them no matter what.
Exactly. Well, that wraps up this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. Thank you so much for stopping by, Bailey Jackson. I love the work you do. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep putting in some work for FanDuel.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you this afternoon.
Exactly. For Bailey Jackson, Rafiq Lewis on. This is Nothing But That Sports Talk. We'll see you next time.